Hi, and welcome to Intuitive Journey with Desiree. I am Desiree Holmes Scherini, your host, and today I am really excited to be interviewing Stephanie Conkle, who is a fellow hypnotherapist and friend, and we met during HypnoBiz New York last year and had such a great time, and I'm really happy to have her here on virtual get together, and we've been talking for a little bit now, so decided it was time to get on with the actual interview. Stephanie is an award-winning clinical hypnotherapist with more than 11 years of experience, and she's a certified hypnotherapy instructor. She likes teaching and mentoring students in advanced therapeutical and hypnotic techniques. She's an industry innovator and is well known for creating the highly successful Profound Somnambulism Protocol with Subconscious Dialogue, the PSP, which works at the esoteric level of hypnosis. She's a published author, public speaker, mother of three, and an advocate for children with autism. She has several memberships, and we're going to talk to her about everything she does and how she got started, and as I always like to include anything that is intuitive based and how she incorporates that. So welcome, Stephanie. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Desiree. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Well, I'm glad to have you. And I'm really glad to have had our long conversation before we started this.
Yes.
So, got wrinkled out all the,
So we're more relaxed now.
I know, right? Now that we know it's going to keep recording. So
Right.
Anyway, so how did you get started in hypnosis?
So, that's kind of a long story of how I got started, but so there's a longer answer and there's a shorter answer. Let me start with the shorter answer, and then you can tell me if you want the longer answer.
Okay.
But the shorter answer is I had quit a long-time corporate career. I was really miserable in my job, and I thought I would be a stay-at-home mom because, I was like, well, I felt like I had a bigger purpose in my life than working for this corporation, making them a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe in the product, and I had a really tricky boss that I was working with. I was not happy there. I knew that I wanted to help people in some way. I just didn't know in what way. When I graduated from the university, I graduated with a film degree.
Oh.
Right. And I did work on some movie sets and stuff like that, and just kind of decided that it really wasn't my thing. It wasn't making enough money. And I had a new family. So I was like the breadwinner when I first got married. And my husband is a filmmaker, and well, he sort of does it part-time. He makes like low budget horror movies.
Okay. And so my daughter might have been in one of those.
Maybe, yeah. Scream queens. So he was making these low budget horror films, and he was underemployed. He was working at Starbucks, which was a great company because it gave us health insurance, and he could just kind of work part-time there. We had health insurance, and then
Nice.
He worked on his movies, and I helped him. I was his assistant producer and all of that kind of stuff. But I was like the one actually bringing in the money. And then, but I really hated, we were married 5 years before we had our first child. And I really hated my job. I really wanted to do something more creative, more artistic, because I'm really kind of more right-brained by nature, more artistic by nature. And I just decided I had to get out of that job because I was driving to work every morning wishing that I would get hit by a Mack truck.
Oh, that's awful.
I could go, so I could be in the hospital for 2 weeks and not have to go into work for 2. Like, that's how bad it.
Yeah.
Like, once I started having those thoughts, I was like, okay, I know that there's something wrong here. So I got pregnant deleberately, and not that
That's better than getting hit by a truck, I think.
Right.
It lasts longer, though.
I had to use the baby as my ticket out of there. So I know I could have had the baby and could have gone to work and been, at the corporate position, but I was like, I hate this job, so I'm just going to kind of use this baby as my ticket out. So as soon as I had the baby, I quit that job, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm going to do the whole stay-at-home mom thing. Now, mind you, I quit my job when my husband was still underemployed. We got a mortgage based on what my income. And we were just moving in to the home mortgage. about to have this baby, quit my job. So that's where we start from. I don't even know really, I don't even remember how we got through those years broke, but somehow everything just kind of worked out.
Yeah.
I went into like a deep postpartum depression, staying at home with the baby. I felt very isolated, very alone. And it wasn't the baby, it was me. And I didn't really know a whole lot about postpartum depression, but I wanted to figure out, okay, I'm home now. I thought this would make me happy. But I had to figure out who I was, what I enjoyed, what I loved doing, because I didn't know who I was anymore, because I had worked for so many years for so many other people doing what they wanted me to do. And now I had to say, like, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? And I remember praying and just saying, I know that I have a bigger, I just always felt like I had a purpose to my life and a mission, really. And I remember praying, please just put me on this mission. I don't care how strange it is. I'm ready to be doing this work. Oh. And so, be careful for what you ask for. I got into hypnosis. Well, first, let me kind of back up. So I kind of got into life coaching just to bring in some money so I could go to Starbucks and meet with people and help coach them. Right. So that's sort of what was supplementing my income, but I wasn't really getting a lot of business at the time. But the way I got into hypnosis was I developed a humongous fear of flying after my first child was born. Oh. And I had flown no problem before she was born. And I flew everywhere, all over Europe, everything. I went backpacking through Europe with a friend of mine in college. So I had no problems up until I had the baby. So I knew that I was having a psychological problem with flying, but it didn't really bother me at the time because I didn't have to go anywhere. And I just thought, you know,
it's not a problem unless you have to get on a plane.
Right. And it's like, I'll just drive anywhere I need to go. But then what ends up happening is one of my husband's horror movies gets accepted into the Cannes Film Festival. Wow. Yeah. So, which is in the south of France. And this was my opportunity to walk the red carpet with my husband, you know, not as his wife per se, but as a producer of the movie. Pretty cool. And with like other big like Hollywood stars and all of this kind of stuff. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I was like, am I going to just let myself miss this huge opportunity because I'm scared to get on a plane? Yeah. So I knew it was psychological. And the first thing that sort of popped into my mind is hypnosis. I need somebody to hypnotize me to get on that plane. And so I ordered like a hypnosis CD because they came in CDs at the time.
Was it specific to flying? The CD?
So it was specific to flying, but what was really funny is that I had read the label wrong. It was for people who got queasy flying in airplanes.
So you were terrified, but you didn't throw up.
Right, exactly. And then I bought another CD that kind of helped me get on the plane. And I was still a nervous flyer at the time, but it did help me at least get on the plane. Okay. All right. When I got back, I wanted to learn hypnosis at that point. Like, why does it work? What is this about? You know, that sort of thing. And so, also, I was getting a lot of hypnosis products. So after I started looking for fear of flying, I came across like weight loss hypnosis and all this other stuff. Came across Steve G. Jones's stuff. Came across what's his name? The hypnotist in London who had the television show, Paul McKenna. Okay. Yeah. So Paul McKenna had this like, I can make you lose weight or something. And I remember listening to his CD and he went into this very creepy voice. Very, very deep, creepy, hypnotic voice. And I remember being like scared.
Yeah, if you don't do this, you'll be sorry.
And I have nothing against Paul McKenna. I think it's great. In fact, I got one of his books that he had written like in the 80s off of eBay or something. And by reading his book, he really explained what hypnosis really was and demystified it for me. So I wasn't afraid of it anymore.
Especially with his voice.
Right. Especially with his creepy voice.
Not to interrupt, but I went to a conference where Joe Dispenza was speaking. And have you heard his guided meditation?
Joe Dispenza, yeah.
And so he's talking, and this is the first time I'd heard him do a hypnosis guided meditation. And so he's talking perfectly normal, and then he goes, "Now, close your eyes." And I'm like,
yeah, that's what this sounded like too.
I'm terrified.
The creepy
it's like he was possessed. And I'm like, well, oh.
Exactly.
You have to get used to it.
Creepy, but even creepier because it was a British accent.
And we've seen too many horror movies, like with the doctor, Boris Karloff or something. Anyway, go ahead.
So then I started like, okay, I really want a female voice. I want a voice that feels beautiful and uplifting. And so I kept searching for my hypnotist. Who can I? And so I came across Wendy Friesen somehow, and I thought, she has the most beautiful voice. I loved listening to all of her stuff, and I really felt like I was getting helped. And again, I haven't even seen anyone in person. This is just through listening to these CDs.
Well, that's how I know Steve G. Jones is so funny, because when when we Facebook friended each other, I'm like, well, now I have a face to go with that voice that I've been listening to.
Right.
Kind of like, not to sound creepy, but now I know what you look like.
Right. So I just got very into Wendy Friesen and all of her stuff, and I just dropped a load of money on everything that she put out. And then she had a learn hypnosis course, and I thought, I already knew that I wanted to take a course on how to learn hypnosis. And she actually had a DVD that said how to hypnotize anybody, and I had purchased that, I had watched that, which was very, very basic hypnosis in these like little snippets. But I understood her, and she made sense to me, and I really liked her because she kind of seemed very down to earth to me. And almost like a hot mess. Sorry, Wendy, I love you, but she seemed like a hot mess.
They're like this morning, trying to find all my stuff.
Yeah, but she was like hugely successful, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, so I could be a hot mess too, and I could be successful with this. So that's kind of the takeaway that I got from her.
She's human. If a human can make money and be successful at this, so can I. Yeah. Right.
And so I was actually looking to go to some class, to take some courses in Atlanta, and I came across some, but during this same time, somebody convinced me to take the course from Wendy. Well, Wendy is in California. I'm in Atlanta. This was like one of the very first online courses that anyone has ever done. Because this was like before the whole Udemy and all of that kind of stuff, Kajabi and all of that. And this was just Wendy. And I was like, no, I really want to go, like, I really want to practice on people. Like, I don't want to do an online thing. I want to be there in person. But no, take her course. She's amazing. She's wonderful. You've got to take it. So it was a good enough value for me to, okay, I'll take it, and then I'll just go from there. And I ended up taking just my basic Hypnosis 101 from her, and I loved it so much. And she was there, with you answering questions. It was live. We had to turn in homework. We had to turn in videos of ourselves hypnotizing other people that she would evaluate. So then I felt like, okay, I can actually get something out of this. When that ended, I was ready to go on to advanced hypnotherapy. Plus, I was reading all of these books at the same time, and I felt like I was learning a lot more than what I was being taught in the classes. And so I wanted to start testing it out. She decided not to do an advanced hypnotherapy class. So I had to find my own, like another advanced hypnotherapy course. And I went through the ICBCH for that. And so I just started taking people in my home. I just kind of started telling people I was a hypnotist. I remember that feeling like very weird to say that.
First, yeah, I know.
very, very weird.
Now it doesn't feel weird at all, right?
No,
Like,
not at all. Like that is
I'm a
who I am.
hypnotherapist, life coach, and yeah, I had that same experience. I'm also an artist, and when I was home with the kids, raising my kids at home,
Yeah.
and I kind of did art as a hobby, but then I started to do professional, commissions. And I remember having the conversation years and years ago with a friend where she's also an artist, and we were both just kind of beginning professionally to do artwork. And somebody said, well, what do you two do? And we giggled and said, we're artists, like it was something,
Right.
oh, we're artists. And now I'm like, well, I'm an artist.
Like, yes, of course I'm an artist, right?
And people, really? And I'm like,
Yeah.
now I don't think it sounds so strange at all, because it is,
This is part of who you are.
Yeah, it is now. But in the
now.
beginning, it felt like,
I felt
Yeah.
so, I just remember, like, because also my family background on my side, I have an Italian family, and so very Catholic and very, I say hardcore Catholic, because I've got like nuns in my family, and my dad is like a Catholic prison minister, and my sister.
Do you have an uncle who's a priest?
I actually don't have an uncle who's a priest. It was weird that nobody became a priest, but a couple of nuns, youth ministers, other kind of ministers, and so very, and very, very, very by the book. And my husband's side, they're all Southern Baptist.
Oh yeah, I think that's well, not worse, but that's more challenging than Catholic, and some of the ways to explain that I'm not
definitely, because
I'm not doing devil stuff.
No, yeah, because in Catholicism there's a lot of mysticism, and so it's a little bit more acceptable. Although my cousin, who is a nun, she's actually the prioress of her convent. I remember her going like, "What made you get into hypnosis?" Hypnosis.
It's really just the way you're helping to your brain. I mean, it's like it's scientifically, it's just normal,
right?
It's really normal, but people have this.
And so you have to sort of demystify it for everybody. Yeah. And I remember get to the point where it's like, okay, this is like so demystified that it's starting to lose the magic for me.
Yeah. So now we need to bring in that manifesting and magic, and
right.
That's the stuff I love, because there's still a unknown about that, but still is true.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I wanted to learn about past life regression. And because then I was like, that kind of excited me again, because I felt like, okay, there is something definitely mystical about this. And that's what I was always drawn to, the esoteric, to the mystical. Even when I was like hardcore Catholic myself, I was always in the mysterious part of the church, and all the healings and all that stuff.
I was raised Catholic, and we both liked the mysteries.
Yeah, the mystery, right. The mysteries. And just and I was speaking in tongues, and I was, all of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, I know this is what I like. And so then, so I got into past life regression. I started it. I don't think I was very good at it in the beginning. And, but I didn't really advertise for it, but I would have people who would call and request a past life regression session. And so I would bring them in, and we would do it. And I was like, I don't know if this is really, this is really working. And so I ended up taking QHHT from Dolores Cannon's.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, it was awesome. And that really reignited everything, my passion again for hypnotism. And so then I started doing a lot more of the past life regression stuff. Then, through QHHT, Dolores was getting the subconscious.
Why don't you, for the audience, explain what the acronym, the initial.
QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy, I think.
Yeah. That was Dolores Cannon's protocol was called.
That was her protocol, which was a past life regression protocol. She was getting subconscious dialogue where the subconscious was actually talking, through the person.
Right.
And so I thought, hey, this is the part of the protocol that is awesome. And not that the past life stuff wasn't, because that was fun too, but I was just thinking, I don't live right in the city of Atlanta where everyone is like really cool and laid back and, very esoteric and all that.
Yeah.
I live in the northern suburbs.
Everyone goes to church and yeah.
Right. And the white picket fences and the affluent homes and all of that. And it's like, they're still just coming to me for regular hypnosis, but I want to get to the part where I can like tap in to their higher self, to their higher power, or to their subconscious, all of that kind of stuff without having to take them through a past life, because they're not going to ask me to go into a past life.
Right.
And for protocol, you have to go through into a past life in order to elicit the subconscious dialogue or the direct voice dialogue. Right. So I wanted to figure out a way, how can I elicit the direct voice without having to bring anybody through a past life? And so I spent about 2 years trying to figure this out. And I did it. And then that's how I developed my protocol. So,
wow.
Yeah. So now I can get people, I can get the subconscious. We can talk to the higher power. We can talk to the collective unconscious. We can talk to angels, whoever, a source energy.
So your process, the protocols, Somnambulism Protocol, subconscious dialogue. So talk about the somnambulism part.
Yeah, so profound somnambulism. So most of us can, we're achieving somnambulism when we bring our clients into hypnosis. And I'm going
to bug you again too, because hopefully not.
I'm going to explain.
You and I are
right.
understanding this.
Somnambulism.
So for the audience, tell us what is somnambulism.
Okay. So somnambulism is when you reach a level of hypnosis that you get particular hypnotic phenomenon, and you can measure for it once you get amnesia. So now as you're being hypnotized, you're getting phenomenon all along the way. Like you may get eye catalepsy, eye fixation, eye catalepsy, maybe doing an arm lift, maybe you can get their arm to rise up okay. When you get somnambulism, then you get sort of more difficult things to achieve. So they can forget their name, they can forget numbers. There was the Dave Ellman induction has a built-in test for somnambulism where he has the client count backwards and has them lose the numbers. So once they lose the numbers, then they've achieved amnesia. Then you know that they're in somnambulism.
Okay.
So profound, but you can be in somnambulism and still sort of be aware that you're being hypnotized. Profound somnambulism is where you can I bring the client into the deepest level of trance that I call the non-awareness state, so that their conscious mind is completely out of the way, where they feel like they're on a mental vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, sometimes they can be observing what I'm doing, but 8 out of 10 times they're not observing. They're just being on a beautiful mental vacation. And while they're over here, I'm over here talking to their pure subconscious, talking to their higher self, or their higher power, their super conscious mind, basically. So I can talk to the subconscious, I can talk to the super conscious, I can talk to the collective unconscious, angels, guides, you name it. And there's just a particular process that I use to figure out to call in who I want to talk about and figure out who I'm talking to at that point. And that's to help the client in their best and highest good.
So instead of straight on, relax your conscious mind and let your subconscious, and it's and again, for the audience, often people think of going in for hypnotherapy for stop smoking or lose weight or habit change, which it's amazing for.
Absolutely.
But it's also even more deeply amazing to find deeper, higher access to subconscious and superconscious, which for those of you who don't understand that, it's almost like Akashic record, kind of where all knowledge is there for you to have, or all you think you don't know, but you know everything, kind of a thing, right?
Right.
So I'm just kind of explaining the difference in what you're talking about. You're talking about quantum,
yes.
level of hypnosis, not the standard base.
Right. Not the standard hypnosis that
that people think of hypnosis. And no, if you
Right.
really want to be a chicken, exactly. Somebody else. Yeah. No.
Exactly. And now we can get those same type of changes.
Yeah, even more profoundly.
Right, even more profoundly. But see, here's the thing. When you can get the client talking to you, or not the client, the client's higher self talking to you, then you can know, you get a deeper understanding of where the problem originated and why it's there. What the secondary gain is. And
I was thinking that when you were talking about getting hit by a Mack truck or having a baby,
right.
Like how sometimes people get sick, and they're sick, or they have a problem, whatever it is, but sometimes you can't clear it up directly with hypnosis because you've got to find that secondary gain.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also, so there's some really good hypnotherapists that can find the secondary gain without having to access the higher power. However, what I find is that sometimes the subconscious or the higher self will not release the problem, even if there's a secondary, or even if the secondary gain has been cleared out, won't release the problem. And if it doesn't release the problem, you have to understand why. And they can give you a fuller understanding. And I've had like the higher self say, this is karma coming over from a past life. And they have signed a contract saying that they want to go through this. So this is something that they want to experience. This is, so we cannot change that contract. Okay. This is what they have to live out. But I could say, well, how long is this going to be? And can we help accelerate their learning? That kind of thing.
Yeah. And so do you bring that information back? Allow the client to have that information and say, oh, okay.
I ask the subconscious if the client can have the information.
Right.
But I do record the sessions. So because if the ones who are not observing, who are in the non-awareness state, they will wake up with amnesia and they'll not know anything that happened in the session. So I'll record each session, but I'll ask the subconscious, whoever I'm talking to, the subconscious or the higher self or whatever, is it okay for the client to listen to this? And sometimes they'll say yes, or sometimes they'll say, let's wait 6 weeks and then they can listen to the recording. But they'll tell you if it's okay for the client to listen to it.
Yeah. And again, for the audience who's listening or watching, when Stephanie's talking about higher power, guides, angels, this is the, and I think there's a universal acceptance that we have watchers and handlers, kind of. We have a higher power that helps us. And so sometimes when, that whole saying, bad things happen to good people, that's what Stephanie's talking about in this case, is understanding it can really, if you at least understand it, if it's not going to go away and you at least understand that there's a reason for it and accept it instead of just saying, oh, well, it can change your whole perception around it and you can have an easier life, right?
Absolutely. And even as the hypnotherapist, it was like, if you get, it's rare, but it happens where you get sessions where just nothing is changing. And you're like, what, is it something that I'm doing wrong? Or, and just being the hypnotherapist, knowing like, oh, okay, it's not on me. This is what they're carrying. And this is something that they agreed to carry from before they were born, then it kind of takes the pressure off of you as a hypnotherapist as well. So it's like, okay. And it does give you the deeper understanding, the deeper, of where the problem has originated, where it needs to be cleared out. It could say that it originated in a past life, but we can go back and clear out the events that happened in the past life. And that's basically just, then you would do a past life regression on them at that point. And basically clearing out karma there usually just means you need to ask for forgiveness from the people who you hurt in those past lives. And maybe it's forgiving yourself and asking for forgiveness, or maybe it's forgiving other people. Maybe you're holding on to a grudge from a past life. So it could be a whole number of things, but it's actually pretty easy to clear out once you know where it originated.
Cool. How long do those sessions usually last? Do you have like a set time for something like that? Or
no, it sort of it lasts about, I tell people to clear their schedule for 2 hours. It may not last the entire 2 hours. It could go 3 hours. It sort of depends on what we're working on. If I bring them into a past life, it's definitely going to be a longer session than if I just speak with the subconscious. Then it'll be a shorter session.
It sounds, I'm really enjoying hearing about your process, because I'm at the NAF, National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotherapists Conference, which is coming up first week of November. I'm staying on to add another certification, because that's what I love to do. And I've done past life regressions, but I'm going to be doing the life between lives, which is Michael Newton's process, and it sounds very similar, but he does have you go back into the past life and then come forward through the death into that
That's how
space.
Dolores Cannon does it. She brings you into the past life,
and then into that space where you can talk to your higher self, your guides, your soul family, and do a lot of processing.
But what I didn't like about that part of her process, and I love Dolores Cannon and all her books and everything, like read them because they're fascinating. But what I didn't like about her process is that she would take people to their death scene and then would revivify the death scene so they could get to the space between lives. Right. And I just thought, not everybody wants to relive their death scene, right?
Yeah, I've been reading up on this, and it does talk about, like, well, we don't want to traumatize them, so you kind of get them there so they, they're not. I kind of wondered about that, so I find your
so that was part of what. But you can get them into the space between lives without having them to revivify the death scene. Like the first way the first part of my protocol that I sort of, I don't want to say invented, I want to say I was guided to, is that instead of taking them through the death scene, why don't I just take them backwards through their own life to right before they were born? Because now they're in the space between lives, but they have not had to revivify their death scene. You can, and you don't even have to do that either. You could just sort of, ask the subconscious or the higher self to take them out. I usually take them out to a space beyond consciousness, sort of like Joe Dispenza does, where you're just you're outside of time and space. Right. So that's sort of like just taking them to this part, kind of gets them outside of their body.
Yeah, and that's how this
mind-body dissociation
as well. But this process I'm talking about, the life between lives, still takes you back and then brings you into that no time, no space. Eventually, like it seems like yours and and Michael Newton, Dolores Cannon, the idea is to, and we pretty much do with regular hypnosis anyway, get to that beyond time and space thing.
Exactly.
And it's like just different ways of getting there. So I'm looking forward to talking to you more after I've taken this and compare notes.
And I've even just recently started incorporating some of Joe Dispenza's pattern into it, because I just discovered him several months, maybe like 6 months ago. And I was like, oh, this is in the kind of what he was doing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use some of his pattern and see if this works for my protocol too. And it does. So just anything that just gets you to
whatever works, get you into that space where your door's open.
The mind-body dissociation.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So I was going to ask you, tell me, it says that you're a published author. So what's your book or your books? Or
well, right now what's published is I have one book that's published on Amazon. It's called Happy Person, Happy Life. And it's basically each chapter is what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say activity, but there's an activity that you do that will help you gain more like background happiness and release your depression. And this is through scientific fact. So if you do these processes in each chapter, that in 21 days, you can actually have a happier, more fulfilling life. some of it is NLP processes. Some of it is just simple meditation or exercising for 20 minutes. But all of these things are backed up scientifically just to kind of help you live your happiest life. And I believe that when you're happy, then you manifest more of what you want into your life. So, and I've also I'm in a lot of other people's books too with case studies and whatever, and I'm working on another book right now.
Oh, what's that on?
And that is I want to teach the general population how to access your own intuition, how to access your own subconscious, your own higher self.
Yeah.
It's great to go to a hypnotherapist when you can, but you can also do this on your own. You can get answers when you go within. And so there's going to be some processes for accomplishing that.
Yeah, that's like right up my alley. That's what I teach. So don't steal my audience. No.
No.
No, that's that. Like because of my own
affiliate.
I know.
We'll work together.
Good plan. I'm kidding. Like there's so many people. Like it is. Don't you feel like there is that universal message? Like if you look back in history, like when the telephone was invented, for example, like 3 people came up with the same idea at the same time. I think there's the download that's gets that like, hey, I have an idea, and it's like, wait a minute, I have that idea.
Exactly, and that's why I was saying earlier, like I feel like I was guided to create my process, and that's why it feels weird if I say I'm the inventor of the innovator.
No, well, you incorporated it, or
no, that's always been there. I figured out a strategy of how to get what I needed.
And really, like I think the more people that are spreading, because there's going to be people that know you and hear you or find you. There's going to be people that find me. There's going to be people that find the more ways to spread the good information or the good ways to live or happiness or finding your own intuition, I think is such a big deal. That's why I called this Intuitive Journey with Desiree, is that like learning your own process or trusting your own intuition is so important.
So many people are waking up now. There is no lack. There is no, there's not a lack. I don't have a lack consciousness. So that's why I'm like, I'm an open book and I'm sharing my information. I share so much information free on YouTube.
Yeah.
But people will still buy my books. They'll still buy my classes, even though I'm giving away everything almost, for free. Because there's not there's really not a lack. And right now, just to get a little bit more esoteric on you, the earth is going through a transformation right now and moving into a new dimension, new density. And we're having to, as a species, as humans, we have to evolve out of the 3rd density. And we're either going to evolve or we're going to die, basically. Not die as in just not be able to move with the earth. And we'll have to go to another 3rd dimensional plane to keep reliving the karma unless we can wake up and elevate. And so I think a lot of people are waking up. They're waking up even if they didn't want to wake up, and they're going like, oh my gosh, like I need direction. Like, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And so I think part of it, and I think this may be part of your work too, my next step, because I still feel that I'm supposed to be even more than a hypnotist or hypnotherapist. Like that's great. It served me well for the past decade, but I know that I have an even higher purpose too. And I think part of that is just to help guide people who are awakening. And I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I know that it has something to do with helping people understand what's happening with them, and then how to shift their energy so that they can match the vibration of the earth as it's going through its own planetary evolution.
Yeah, I think maybe most of the people that would be taking the time to listen or watch this would get what we're talking about. But I do like to, on this show, do a lot of explaining about like what, and everyone's heard that as above, so below, that inside our bodies, the planet, our solar system, everything is going through a pattern that replicates, sort of like fractals. And like you're saying, and so if people would take the time to look at the big history of our galaxy and where the Earth is, they'll see that it's getting closer to the center, and there is a shift, and electromagnetically and gravity wise and all sorts of stuff happens from that level, from the universe all the way down to the cells in our body. And so yes, talking about that frequency is that we are at a very dense frequency in these physical bodies. And when you talk about raising your vibration or your frequency, there actually can take place a change in our density, and not just you and me, sometimes individually, but we're talking about humanity too. Like, not just like we're going to die, not you and I, but humanity,
the consciousness of the collective of humanity.
Yeah, as we, DNA and all this, as we progress, humanity is going to shift.
We want to ascend, and we want to ascend together.
Right.
Not everybody's going to ascend, but and that's okay. They're just going to have to repeat it again on another planet.
Well, and there's all these different levels that exist at the same time. It's just fascinating. It's like I could go on and on, but
right, me too. Let's confuse your audience.
And there's just like all this, just like there's a rock and a flower and a human being and a dog. Consciously, or as far as awareness, we're all at different levels of awareness, but we all coexist.
That's right.
So there's a flow. It's like a little water wheel. That drop of water is a little further back from this drop of water, but we're all on the wheel.
Right. And ultimately, of course, we're all connected, and we're all one.
Yeah. So it's
the source.
Yeah, and we're all responsible for ourselves and everything around us in a way. So if we can be a better person, a better light, a better source of information and help, and then everything around us is going to kind of get what's the right word? It's contagious.
Right.
We can affect the energy around us.
Right. We can affect the energy. That's exactly right. We can help. We can help pull up the lower energies into a higher level.
And heart math. Joe Dispenza is big with the heart math group, and they talk about globally changing the heart rate variability, that coherence, and globally shifting that. And there is science behind that too. So if anybody wants to go look that up, there is science behind the energy on the earth associated with how people are feeling. It's fun.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, so what do you have coming up as far as workshops or anything like that? You said you were earlier, before we were recording, you said you were co-teaching a couple of workshops, and I know you travel and get around. So what do you have coming up that people can find you at?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. So I'm co-teaching with Roy Hunter and Bruce Eimer. The next thing that I did a parts therapy workshop with Roy Hunter, and you can find that on my website if you'd like to go back and watch that. My website for hypnotherapists or for students who are interested in this is stephanieconkle.com. It's just my name.com. It's different than my client website if you want to get a hypnotherapy session from me. That's clearliferesults.com.
And I'll be putting those in the details under the podcast video information.
And then the workshop that's coming up soon, which we're still working out details, so I can't give you details just yet, but maybe we could put it in the show notes later. With Bruce Eimer and Roy Hunter, we're going to be teaching regression, an online regression workshop. So that will be fun. And then, and then if you're interested in my protocol, I just finished teaching it live at HypnoThoughts Live, but you can also download the online version. I have video training courses, and again, you can find that at stephanieconkle.com, and that is the Profound Somnambulism Protocol. I've got some other courses there too if you're interested.
Good. And how about, are you going to be, will I see you in, yes, I will. Of course, I'll see you in May at HypnoBiz New York, right?
So, well,
or is it, I've lost track of where we're all going at the same time.
Right. So I've sort of made a promise to myself that I was going to sit down and write my book and finish my book and I'm kind of taking a bit of sabbatical for 2020.
Okay.
I'm still going to go to HypnoThoughts live in August because that's the big one. But other than that, I'm really trying to kind of like slow down from just being everywhere at one time,
Yeah.
and work on my product creation, because I know that is important, and work on myself, and just kind of, 2019 was this energy of do and run everywhere and go everywhere and fly
That's gonna be
everywhere.
my 2020.
Yeah. And so
everywhere.
so 2020, I'm still going to have to do some of that stuff, but I'm intentionally slowing down, and I'm kind of, cocooning myself, and I want to get into that creative space to work on my books and to work on my courses. So I'll have a workshop to go along with the book. So I've just got to, put those into place now.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. And I've done the same thing. I have my book and I have a workshop that goes with it. So
Awesome.
yeah, so it's nice because you've already got your plan, that's
Yes.
and it's repeatable. So I wish you a lot of luck with that. And
Thank you.
I will have Stephanie's information and where you can work with her. And what city are you in? I don't even know we talked about
So
that.
I'm in Woodstock, Georgia.
Oh, wait. Okay, you're Atlanta.
You're Atlanta. I'm not in the city. I'm in the suburbs north of Atlanta.
We're on the same time, Eastern
EST.
Standard Time, which helps a lot when we have to do something like this.
Absolutely.
So she's in Atlanta. You can find her there if you want to work with her. You can find her online for online courses and contact. And you say you have a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel, and that's Stephanie Conkle Hypnosis.
Cool. So all sorts of ways to find out more and contact Stephanie. And is there anything else you wanted to add before I end this?
I just really appreciate the opportunity of coming on here and talking with you and your audience. I've had a wonderful time, and just thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me. It was really nice. And like I said, I could go on forever talking to you, but I better end.
Likewise.
I look forward to seeing you when I can, even if you're not going to be I'll just come bug you. I'll sit outside and hey, Stephanie, come down to Atlanta. If you ever make it up to DC, let me know.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, so I'll be back in touch. Like I said, I'd love to talk more about, on a personal level, about the processes. And other than that, though, thank you, Stephanie, for joining me. And I'm going to end this with thank you for being here with me for my show. And I look forward to seeing everyone next time. Bye.
Bye.